I've been getting a lot of requests to do some best teams videos, so today we're going to be going over the best teams to take on the Festival of Battles event. Now, I'm going to do a quick summary on how the event works, and I'm going to talk about my approach, but for a more full, in-depth breakdown, I would highly recommend you guys check out the 7 useful tips and tricks video on how to beat this event. I did make this video at the start of the 10th anniversary, not the start, toward the end of the 10th anniversary. So in terms of characters that I reference, that has obviously aged, but in terms of the concepts, it has all remained the same. So do check that out. That will help you guys tremendously in terms of your approach, but I will also briefly discuss how I do this. So Festival of Battles is a 50-stage marathon escalation event. Think of it like the legendary Goku event. Think of it like Boss Rush or something like that. Only here, you have a turn restriction and you have increasing stats on your opponents with the occasional extra perk. So for example, you start off with, from stages 1 to 16, a restriction where you have to clear these little puny fights within one turn. When you get to stage 16 onwards, from stage 17, no, from stage 16 to stage 40, I believe, you have 2 turns to clear the opponent. Stage 39, actually, this is stage 39. Or no, I think this is 40, yeah. To stage 40, you have 2 turns to clear the opponent. Occasionally, you will come across enemies that have certain effects. This guy, for example, nullifies all Ki Blast supers. So you will still stack with your Ki Blast super, you just won't do any damage. Or on stage 30, Kid can nullify unarmed supers. You will still do the attack, you will stack, but you will not do any damage. So besides those 2 road mines, there are a few others where they get stronger and whatnot, they can dodge. These sorts of things can inhibit your progress in terms of clearing under certain turn restrictions. But for the most part, it is an escalating fight where you have to get stronger and match your opponent's intensity as they increase their stats for 50 turns. All the way on the final few stages, it gets very difficult. The enemy is very tanky. The enemy hits very hard. And it's going to be very, very tough for some of you guys to clear this event, which is why team builds and going over some of the best teams might help you guys out. I do also want to point out this event only needs to be done up to stage 25 for the base mission rewards. The base mission rewards go up to stage 25, which eliminates the true challenge of it. And I'm sure some people would be happy to know that they only started adding the stone-based rewards after a little while. But for the most part, at the beginning, it was from stage 30 to 50. You only got link skill orbs, which didn't do much, right? They were doing this mainly for those who are in for the thrill of the challenge. Since then, they have released a couple of type-based restriction missions for more titles and also 15 stones, which in all honesty, it's a good thing. Yeah, this is a challenging fight and you're doing it for the challenge, but people who do it should still get a little bit of reward. So if you care enough to go for the 15 stones, you can, but just remember, you don't have to, you can stop at 25. But if you do, then essentially this video is pointless. We are going to be proceeding into this video under the assumption that you are going for the gold by trying to reach and defeat stage 50 against the Vegito. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump in and discuss my best teams. But before I do, let me also mention that in terms of my approach, this is how I construct my teams for the most part. You've got your primary 4 and you've got your rear 3. That's how I approach it for the most part. How I do that is I will set up my first 2 characters on each rotation. This would be my 1 rotation, Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Super Saiyan Force. The other rotation would be Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, Super Saiyan 3. These characters will be involved on the every day-to-day operation of stacking every single turn. They will be stacking as much as possible, as often as possible. Whereas the remaining 3 don't need to be as reliant on that same sort of maintenance, on that micromanaging. They can exist a little bit more flexibly in the slot 3, providing defense when necessary, but also not necessarily having to stack their attack as much. As we proceed through the sacred timeline that is Dokkan, this will become more and more achievable for you because more and more characters will be able to provide such luxuries. When this event first came out, we did not have such a luxury because there just weren't as many flexible and really dominant characters. This was one of the best teams to use at the time, which required all 7 characters, all of these 6 plus the friend unit, to be stacking, micromanaging, rotating, fluctuating. It was very challenging. And this is why there was a lot of user error. There were a lot of tragic losses at certain points, myself included, because I failed to do this at a proper level. But now, since then, it's been a year and things have gotten much easier. So now let's go ahead and discuss some of my best teams. Actually, wait, you know what? We should start by talking about some of the best units in the game for Festival of Battles. So I'm just using the team building interface here, but these are some of the best characters in the game. If you have at least one of these, you are in very, very good shape in terms of your team composition. I would say, actually, I'm going to make a quick little adjustment here. I am gonna move this guy down. I'm gonna put you there. I'm gonna put you there. So I think this is the order in terms of the best 7 or best 6. So Int Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, in my opinion, is number 1. Some people might argue that Broly is number 1. In terms of individual performance, I would actually agree with that, because Tech Broly is so dominant and you can just infinitely stack attack and defense, not just by your own supers, but from just receiving supers. The problem with this guy is that because he's so strong, the earlier rounds, and this is becoming an increasing issue with these newer characters, but these characters are getting so strong that they will hog all of the glory on each of these fights, meaning for the first 20 some odd turns, Broly will not let anybody else do anything because he alone will kill the enemy. And this will happen a lot, meaning nobody else really gets to do anything unless you are a passive stacker like Goma, which makes this unit very good. You're not going to be doing anything, which is why Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta is better. Number 1, team composition. You've got better leader skills. But more importantly, number 2, the EX attack gives everyone on the team a 10% attack boost if you successfully launch an EX attack while stacking yourself. This means even if the Vegeta hogs most of the glory like the Broly does, which does happen a lot, this unit can still bring the rest of the team with you to an extent, giving you an extra, I guess, head start in terms of your stacking, which I have noticed tremendously during my runs. For example, my first run during the 11th anniversary, I was able to get 22 to 23 EX attacks with my Super Saiyan 4 Vegetas, and the result was insanely broken damage to the point where for the first time in a while, I did not miss having Tech Vegito on the team. I did not need Tech Vegito. My team that I used before this one, this was my first team for the 11th anniversary that I cleared with. This guy was replaced with something else, I forgot. But this was the first team that I ran, and because of the double Super Saiyan 4s and their team stacking, everybody else did so much more damage. I was worried that Tech Vegito might be a necessity to get through the final fights, and it wasn't. That's how dominant and that's how influential the Super Saiyan 4 Vegetas are. So that's why I think that they're the best. Then when we go down the list here, the Trunks and Vegeta does the same thing, but to a lesser extent. It is a guaranteed 5% attack and defense buff on each and every 18 key super. You could argue this is actually better because this is a guarantee versus the EX attack, which is a chance based. If you've got double Trunks and Vegeta, you're effectively getting 10% attack and defense every 2 turns. So your whole team not only is getting stronger with their attack, but also their defense is going up, which means you have the flexibility of bringing in some potentially weaker defensive characters, which opens up your team building, which is incredibly underrated. Spirit Bomb GT, if Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta and Broly didn't exist, this would be the hardest hitting unit in the game for Festival of Battles. The stacking potential, the damage potential, and the flexibility of the revive counter makes this unit incredibly broken. The revive counter, even if that doesn't happen, you are giving everybody else an attack plus 110% along with heat plus 11. This unit is a jack of all trades and surprisingly tanky in the final rounds. Blue Goku can fit anywhere on the rotation. You can stack attack on the main rotations. You can stack attack in slot 3. You don't have to necessarily do it. This guy is a good floater. This guy is a good slot 1. Whatever you need, he can do it. And if you switch him to the Vegeta, you can get some nice defense. And then Goma. I put Goma at the end here mainly because team building wise, it's a little bit harder to use the Goma, but in terms of ease of use, he's probably the easiest one to use on the entire team or on this entire set of characters because he simply just has to exist. If he shows up, he gets a stack just by being there. 150% attack and defense. He will do that every single time he's there. So you can either float him and have him do nothing and have him gain attack and defense plus 150 every 3 turns, or you have him on the main rotation and he will stack attack and defense plus 150 every 2 turns. Both broken, plus he can provide rotating team defense, which gives you more security on the final few stages, which is a very good thing. Goma is very good. I'm not even listing Tech Vegito. Tech Vegito's broken ability still puts him among the best, but in terms of ease of use, I would say that these guys are easier. Physical Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta, or the Super Saiyan 4s, the 7th anniversary LR also should be up here, but again, there's no space. So I feel like if you have at least 1 or 2 of these characters in the fundamental core of your team, you're in pretty good shape already. That being said, let's now jump in and discuss some of the best teams for this event. And using that structure that I mentioned, this one is one of the best teams. So we'll start here. So the Super Saiyan 4 Vegetas will be on slot 1. The Super Saiyan 4 will be slot 2 on 1 rotation, and then you'll either have the Spirit Bomb GT or the Super Saiyan 3 to Super Saiyan 4 in the other rotation. Here, I am running a 5-man rotation, which needs the stacking and the maintenance, but unlike teams where you have to have all 7 units doing something, Here I only have 5. Kai Fighter's Goku doesn't need maintenance. He will stack defense occasionally and he will be fine. Spirit Bomb Z stacks defense infinitely, does not stack attack. He is fine. All I need are for these 5 to be active. These 2 will always be your slot 1s so that they can have a chance to provide the Team EX bonus. Maybe on occasion I can switch these guys into slot 1 instead so that they can get some of the action early. For example, if you check my run with this team, which I posted I think a couple weeks ago, early on I would put the physical Super Saiyan 4s in slot 1 with 1 orb to pick up, and they would do very minuscule damage, but that stacking would happen before the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta eviscerates the enemy. And occasionally the Super Saiyan 3, when he transforms into Super Saiyan 4, he can do a lot of damage with his guaranteed crit. So I would occasionally float him off so that I could let the Spirit Bomb GT do some stacking, or vice versa. So this makes for an easier time in terms of micromanaging, because there's only 5 characters to mess with as opposed to 7. Replacements. Here are a few of the options. I don't think I'm listing everybody, but because of the flexibility of the team stacking, characters that are only stacking defense can be an influential part of the team in terms of damage output. So if a character is only raising defense, throw them in there because they can be good. Oh, this is not showing everybody. You can't see God Goku and Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta or Gogeta over there. So throw those guys onto the squad as well. You can substitute basically anyone. I would try to preserve the Saiyan Roar link just to get a little bit more damage output. But hey, if you don't want to do that and you want to just keep stacking with more to do per fight, well, you can break up the Saiyan Roar set and just throw in a couple of these guys. So here are some options just to give you guys some flexibility. But as far as specifics, you guys can ask away in the comments. Someone can try to help you. I can try to help you, or just ask me on live stream. So here are some substitutions for this specific team. How do I... okay, hold on. There. Much better. Pure Saiyans team. So here we have a little bit less room for error because of the lack of team stacking. That doesn't mean that this team is bad. It just means that you're approaching this in the more conventional sense. You really want to hark down on the main rotations getting most of the stacking. We've got our primary 4 right here. So rotation 1 will be these 2 10th anniversary fused fighters. These 2 will be the other rotation. The good thing here is that because you only have the 4, you can have them alternate roles, because while stacking attack is important, you also want to focus on defense. So again, I talk about this symmetrical approach in my tips and tricks video, but if you can do that, which is going to be very good and very easy with these 4, these 3 in slot 3 don't have to do much. They just have to exist. This guy stacks defense whenever he's able to. This guy doesn't need to do a thing, and he is broken in the final few rounds. That's how good he is. Same with the Super Saiyan 4 Daima Goku. This guy can also provide, with his EX attack, some extra attack temporarily for 2 turns. So that can give you the extra juice that you might need on some of these turns where you find yourself in a tight spot. And that can sort of compensate for the lack of the team stacking that's permanent. But this team is good. But like I said, the room for error is a little bit narrower here. So in terms of who you want to be bringing, try to bring some of the harder hitter characters. Like if you got Broly or this guy, that's going to make your team much more easy to use. You can also bring in some of the other ones. These are a little bit harder to facilitate because you don't have the team stacking, but still they are good stackers. Vegeta was one of the extreme units that I had to use for that one mission. So because everybody else was doing their job, this guy was able to suffice. This guy's a free to play and he is a fantastic stacker. If you haven't used him, you know what you should do? You should also check out some of the shorts that I've done on the channel, because I did a lot of shorts back when Festival of Battles first came out. And we get to see what some of the fights are like and what some of the units can do. This guy is really, really good. The Super Saiyan 4s, the 7th anniversary fusions over here. God Goku, probably not going to be as effective on this team, unlike the Super Saiyan 4, because you're not stacking team attack. So he's kind of going to be an anchor, but if you have nobody else and you need it, then, I mean, he's an option. I'm not giving like an order in which the best, substitutions can be. These are just some options for you guys. Also, the manga units, I just want to remind you guys, the manga characters, if you did summon for them during the 40th anniversary Dragon Ball celebration, these guys also can work. 40 turns of extra stats. Most of them get permanent attack and defense if something happens, so these guys can also be good for you. So here are your substitutions for the Pure Saiyans. All right, up next, we've got the Bond of Parent and Child and Battle of Fate team featuring the double Trunks and Vegeta. So this is what I was talking about in terms of team stacking. This unit on both rotations will be leading because they have to be in slot 1. They're your good defender. They are your team stacker. You're getting 10% attack and defense for the entire team every 2 turns, which means your window from error is now far less of an issue, because you're going to be compensating for some of the lack of action on the like floater characters with the Trunks and Vegeta. It's not as prominent as the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, but it is still very, very effective, which is why the substitutions have now expanded insanely. Now, I'm not accounting for every single character, so please don't take this as gospel. Like, this is the only characters that you can use to substitute. These are just some of them, but you can see among the usual suspects up at the top here, you now have characters that aren't necessarily stacking permanently, like the Diamond Super Saiyan 4. The Pan does not stack defense permanently, just attack. So this unit has to be generally on slot 1, but since Trunks and Vegeta will be in slot 1, this unit is going to be slot 2 or slot 3. With damage reduction, with some extra defense, that could give her more flexibility. Even characters that straight up just stack will receive a much more profound benefit from those stacks moving forward, which is why I am willing to put characters like Tech Trunks, AGL Zamasu, the Xeno characters in here, even old school Tech Vegito Blue, because that is how useful the team stacking is. So the point of view seeing these here is just to show that on teams like this, you have more flexibility. You can bring some characters that don't have perma stacking. The Trunks or the Future Gohan and Trunks, another good option. They're just going to get even stronger with all this team stacking. This is going to be great. Plus, you have good synergy. So this is a great team. You could even just throw in the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta on this squad, and you would have double. So you would then have, let's just say, ideally, every single turn, you are launching every EX or Ultra Super. That would mean every 2 turns, you would be getting 20% attack for the team and 10% defense. The defense-wise, Vegeta doesn't provide. That's what this the Trunks and Vegeta does. But that will give your lesser characters a much better fighting chance later on. Really, really good team. Even if the stats are lower to start, that just means more love for everybody. Oh, and Int UI Goku being on this rotation, on this team, is just because he's getting a super easy. He's really, really good. Your main 4 will be these, and then your floaters will be these. This guy doesn't have to be a primary. He can be a floater. Look at that. Look at how broken this team is. Now we got the Foo Fighters, all fusion characters. This one, the options for substitutions are a little bit narrower. Oh, I just realized 4 of them are already on the team. So actually, here are some choices. So the idea here is that you're going to have the blue Goku leading the charge for the most part. And then you're going to have whatever other fusion character you have here. But since the amount of maintenance is now extending to 6 characters, this is going to be a much harder team to evenly distribute the wealth, which is kind of going back to the days of the 10th anniversary. So this is more of an old school type feel. You're going to get a similar sort of experience like I did back here. And of course, if you've got lesser hit a potential builds, that's just going to make it even more challenging. But I don't have everybody here that you might want to necessarily have on the team. For example, if you put Trunks and Vegeta on this team, since they are part of Future Saga, that will give your whole team 5% attack and defense every time they super. That will lessen the burden of the other characters in terms of their stacking. Of course, you still want to, but since you don't have as much of that going on, characters like the Tech Vegito or maybe the AGL, well, AGL Zamasu should be fine, but Tech Vegito might struggle a little bit until he gets a super easy A. And Rose is great for this. The only issue with Rose is if you don't have enough extreme characters, that does hurt. Actually, wait, you know what? I don't think Rose suffers as long as you get a Future Saga on the team. I just want to remember. Rose, where are you? Rose. When all allies attacking the same direction, Future Saga ally on the team. Oh, yeah. Future Saga ally on the team or extreme class. So if you've got 2 Gokus and the Frieza. Oh, wait, no, it would have to be one or the other. It can't be both. Yeah. Whichever one has more, but he himself counts, so that would be 3, so that would actually give it to you. So yeah, Rose would work for this. Rose would be a great piece for this, but the options are more limited. I feel like at this point this is an older, less flashy team with some of the new guys that we have, so I feel like most people won't use this, but this is another option and still very, very strong. Now we got an extreme team, the Big Bad Bosses. This stems from a team built around the STR Super Baby. A lot of you guys probably don't have this character as of March 2026, but over time this character will come back. I wanted to have a couple of extreme teams. I wanted to have a reason to bring Goma. This is a very strong team because everybody here shares the Big Bad Boss link. So ideally, max link level 10 for that link is going to make this even better. But in terms of the distribution, the 4 units that need maintenance regularly would be 1, 2, 3, 4. These 3 can be floaters. Since this is a temporary stacker, this guy's primarily meant to support, but he can also stack permanently himself. He might be a bit of an issue in certain situations, but for the most part, with Goma and these guys sharing Big Bad Bosses, I feel like that's not going to be an issue. But I think that this is a solid team. Not only that, but this also satisfies the extreme int, extreme tech, extreme AGL mission requirement, because we've got our int here, we've got our tech here, and we've got AGL twice. So this will not only help with that mission, but you'll have a good time running a bunch of villains. The more copies, the better, obviously. But if you've got Baby Vegeta plus Rose, Baby Vegeta plus Frieza, you can have this guy gain his attack and defense plus 150 every 3 turns. Or if you care less about this guy stacking, since he's going to have good defense and damage reduction already, you can have this guy stay on the main rotation. So it'll be these two plus these two, and then these guys are in the slot 3. I haven't tested this out myself, but on paper, this looks very promising. And in terms of replacements, I obviously have some substitutions here. I did not list Omega Shenron on the core team, mainly because he was actually here, but I swapped him out because of the category mission. So if you don't feel comfortable with Janemba, you don't care about that mission, you know, throw in the Omega Shenron. I also brought the free-to-play Baby TURs, because as long as Baby is on the rotation, which he will be, you get extra perks, and these units can provide 18% attack boost for 3 turns. So that will give your team overall a little bit more attack juice moving forward, not permanently, but temporarily. And if they're all there, you'll essentially have it all the way through. So I will mention though, I did try once running Baby plus just like a full Baby team. The reason why it failed is because one of the Baby units that I brought was the int Baby TUR, the giant ape one. And never do that. Never bring characters that can transform into giant ape on their own. Only bring ones that you can transform yourself, because if they transform at the worst possible freaking time, it will ruin your entire run. Don't believe me? Watch the short. I dropped a short on that, and it was brutal for me, but it was very entertaining for you guys. Big bad bosses. Try it out. Super Boss. Here is a Super Boss team consisting of extreme characters. Now, as far as substitutions go, it's a little tricky with Super Boss. You don't have as many options because they need to be extreme so that the Rose can get the most out of his passive. So if you're doing this, you don't have too many substitutions here. The Broly, mainly as a slot 3, he can combo more, but defense-wise, not that great. Fusion Zamasu would be good because Big Bad Boss and a good synergy with the Rose. But if you're bringing these, you got to be careful, because these units need to be on a team that can share a bunch of Universe 6 characters. And if you do that, you kind of butcher the Rose. This unit, however, can still work. And the reason for that is because this unit has 1 instance of guaranteed dodge every single turn, which can be a great out depending on the situation. For example, STR Beast Gohan's nuking mechanic on the 2nd turn, this unit can help you dodge that. These characters, I mean, yeah, run them. If you run them on a Universe 6 team, they'll be much better off. In terms of damage, it can be an issue pacing wise. You might not have enough damage all around by the time you get to some of the points where you should be doing a certain level of damage. That is the one weakness with this. So essentially, the team that you're seeing here is the best version of Super Boss and probably the one that you should be running. So the idea is that you would have Rose and Broly on a rotation, Rose and maybe Hit on another rotation. Fusion Zamasu kind of gets the short end here, so maybe you float him in and replace the Broly. Since Broly is so dominant and so strong, maybe you float him off and have him show up every 3 turns, so that maybe he can get a couple of stacks there and he can do cleanup so that everybody else can get their fair share. These 2 units don't have to be on the main rotation. They can kind of hang out and do whatever. The great thing about the Tech Frieza and the Gogeta is that they don't have to stack at all. They can just exist. And once the unit can switch to... Actually, wait. Can he switch to Gogeta? Yeah, straight up starting from the 5th turn, he can switch to Gogeta. And Gogeta can just have guaranteed dodge. Gogeta can give everybody team defense. He just exists as his own entity, so he can just do his own thing. But Super Boss is still effective, and also I constructed the team again for that mission. Extreme AGL, Extreme Int, Extreme Tech. You're welcome. Exploding Rage. If you've got Broly, why not run double Broly? This team will be very, very solid because Broly will do most of the heavy lifting. Each rotation, you're essentially covered with the Broly. The fewer dupes you have in the unit, then the more likelihood that you can actually have other characters do more on the rotation. The setup is our primary 4 would be 1, 2, 3, 4 with a 5th unit that would also kind of have to be floated in. Since the 2 Brolys can do so much, you might occasionally find yourself having to rotate off one of these just to accommodate these guys stacking. This free-to-play Bardock is one of the best, I mean, it is the best free-to-play unit in the game for the Festival of Battles, and dare I say still best unit in the game overall for free-to-play. Is there anything that's better? I can't remember at the moment. I'm super into Festival of Battle mode. But these units can do a lot for you. even if they are not stacking at the same level as these guys, they will do most of the work. These guys will do cleanup, and as long as they can keep going, they will be useful. This unit is a little risky as you continue because you do have a nuking passive. So if you're not picking up necessarily enough orbs, then even though you're stacking, it could sort of come back to bite you. But again, because you've got double Broly, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you've got one of those like major fundamental pieces, your chances of success are much better. The Tech Birdcoo, some of y'all might be wondering why this dude is here. This dude is here as a rear guard. He is meant to just stack defense, sit pretty, and if need be, give you a revive. This can get you out of situations like against the Beast Gohan. Perhaps a super attack from Tech Vegito towards the end could be a problem. I just threw him in there just to give the idea that you could do something like that. If you don't want to, you don't want to chance it, then by all means, don't do it. In terms of substitutions, this would probably be your best substitution. The legendary Super Saiyan TUR Broly. That is one of a few characters that can provide that like Broly-esque synergy with the main one. The only problem is this unit requires a lot of maintenance. He needs to be stacking a ton. So if you are going to be bringing this Broly, make sure he's on the main rotation with the Tech Broly and have the Tech Broly do cleanup. But this is your squad. Most characters here are super class, so that means that this guy is fine. He is not in a jeopardy of losing dodge or damage reduction. And the only thing though is that he will be missing a little bit of this. So if you don't want to miss out on the 20% dodge and the 10% damage reduction, then perhaps you could restructure the entire approach by having it be these 4 as your main rotations, and you could have the Brolys as your slot 3, meaning once every 3 turns, this unit will get the extra damage reduction and the extra dodge. Another interesting way to approach it, and it can be useful. I myself have not tested benching the Broly. Whenever I bring the Broly, I use him to the fullest. But that could be a way that you can restructure the rotations to get the most out of this guy, as he will be your other great slot 1 unit besides the Brolys. Actually, the Bardock too. Bardock is going to be a good slot 1. His defense, when he activates his active skill, he gets 318 defense for 1 turn. I did a short on this. He got, I think, like 15 million defense. No, 40 million defense, right? It was like 40 million defense. It was something stupid. Go watch that short. There's a lot of shorts from Festival of Battles you guys will enjoy on the channel, so go check those out. Exploding Rage. Not too many substitutions. Manga Goku is good here, or Manga Gohan and dynamic units, but overall, it's going to be the Broly show. We're running a little late here. I don't want to... I've been at this for a while. Curating all the characters and putting them as replacements is a lot of work. So we're looking at the Gifted Warriors team. Gifted Warrior consists of the AGL 10th Anniversary Vegeta Leader Skill. The benefit here is that you can also throw in successors, meaning Goma can fit on this team, and you can throw in characters like Rose. So you've got the usual suspects here, the newer characters, but then you could bring in someone like Goma. You have a little bit more extreme side flexibility. You could even... can you maybe do the extreme int, extreme AGL, extreme tech thing here? Yes, you can. Because you could bring Broly as your extreme tech, you can bring Frieza as your extreme AGL or Goma, and then your extreme int can either be the Universe 7 Goku Frieza, or it could be Fusion Zamasu. I believe those are probably the 2 main ones. You also got the manga Frieza, but this is just sort of another version of the Pure Saiyans team. So it's essentially the same premise. Your main rotations are going to be the double Gogeta, the Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta. You are going to be having the team stacking here. Broly is so strong. Broly plus the team stack, he does not need to be stacking every single turn. So if anything, he can float off, and you can swap in this dude for Broly, so you could have your 10th anniversary units do the stacking along with the team stacking, and then these 3 units can be cleanup. And that is a great way to establish that same sort of symmetrical approach while still giving everyone a chance to become as dominant as possible. This one I feel like has one of the highest upsides because of the team stacking element, because you've got 1, 2, 3 of the most broken mechanics for Festival of Battles. With that team stack, you will probably not have to resort to all 3 on any of the fights. That's how good the potential is for this team. So at this point, we're kind of seeing just like different variations of essentially the same team composition and team premise. So let's just round out the last team right now with the Bond of Master and Disciple. The idea behind this team is to simply just once again focus on the structure, the symmetrical structure. Your main rotations will be Gohan and Gohan Piccolo. That way Gohan will be able to stack his attack while also providing 30% attack boost for everybody for 2 turns, similar to the Daima Goku effect. And then also this guy can stack attack and defense. These 2 will work very well together. They share 5 links. These 2 will also share a bunch of links. This guy will also provide team support. 5% attack and defense. This guy will get super strong, and your slot 3 will be a UI Goku that again has to do nothing the whole time, but as you get stronger with this passively, this guy will just become something that's just baking in the oven. And then you've also got this unit right here with a revive and a pretty strong Trunks unit that will emerge after the revival. When the other character is, if you still have the other one, if you're running double into Trunks and Gohan, if one of them revives, the other one will stay as the Gohan and then inherit attack and defense plus 200% and guaranteed guard, giving you effectively a rear guard sort of unit. So I haven't tested this team myself, but this team looks very logically sound on paper. With the team stacking here, I feel like this team does have enough damage output, but I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to be honest. But the idea behind this video was to show the best team compositions, which is primarily these teams, while also giving you a little bit of insight as to how you can approach these rotations. This one is sort of try it yourself and see kind of thing, using some of the concepts that I mentioned in the video. So hopefully this helped you guys out. I have rambled on for 30 minutes. Yeah, these best team videos are exhausting. This is a lot of work. Hopefully you guys understood and appreciated this, because it took a lot of time to do this. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like down below. Let in the comments which of these teams that I mentioned do you find to be the most useful to you? Which one do you think is the best overall? Do you agree with some of my approaches? The primary 4, the rear 3, do you guys agree with that sort of thing? What is your favorite team to run in Festival of Battles? Have you tried the Festival of Battles yet? If you have not, has this video or maybe the tips and tricks video changed your mind? Let me know your thoughts overall in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more content in the future and click the notification bell so that you'll be soon when I want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned, and DBZ Dokkan responsibly.